In this video, I'm going to talk to you about 6 types of vendors that you need when you're note investing. Now, I'm not talking about hot dog vendors. Worked at a company one time where one of our sourcing people hated the word vendor because they thought that it didn't give them the proper respect, like they were somehow like a hot dog vendor. So we're not talking about hot dog vendors. We're talking about vendors that are going to be really crucial to helping you run a successful note business or investing successfully at your IRA retirement account. The number one vendor you need are realtors. So you're going to need realtors on the ground in all the cities where you're operating, and they're going to provide a lot of invaluable services to you. The big one is they're going to give you an estimate of the value during your due diligence process. They're probably going to get pictures of the property for you. Obviously, realtors sell property. So if you do have, let's say, a non-performing note that you take through foreclosure or borrower agrees to a cash for keys and you need to sell it, they can help you sell that REO. And then also they can help you, if it becomes an REO, coordinate with property managers or other vendors. Your really good realtors out there will usually have a list of local vendors that they work with and that they like. And I've even had some that will go above and beyond and do things way beyond what a traditional realtor would do. They'll do things like post notices. So sometimes, depending on the type of legal process you have to go through, depending on the state, you have to post notices on the door. And I've even had realtors appear for me in court sometimes. It can be extremely helpful. Now, realtors, like everything else, I would say follow the 80-20 rule. I've had some that I really had a hard time getting them to do what I needed. But you will find realtors that specialize in foreclosures and distressed properties and are really good at what they do. And they are like gold. I've been able to find a bunch of them over time. But you're going to want to make sure you find really good realtors in the areas where you're operating. Vendors the number two vendor you need are good title companies. So during that initial due diligence process before you close on a note, you need to understand that the title work is clear. So typically what most note investors do is they pull what's called an O&E report, or an ownership and encumbrances report. It's kind of like a mini title report. You can pull a full title report as well, but usually the O&E gives you what you need. And then, of course, if you get REOs and you're selling them, you're obviously going to be closing them through title companies as well, but that's not necessarily the one you're choosing. I'm usually choosing title companies when I'm deciding to pull an O&E report. Number three are attorneys. And attorneys are huge. I have a wide network of attorneys across the country. You're going to need attorneys in every state that you're operating in. And the first thing that they do for me that's of crucial importance is I mentioned getting that O&E report from a title company, and I'll get other documentation from the lender. But even though I've done a lot of these, and I know I can find, if there are issues, I can find them most of the time, I'm not an attorney. And so I like having an attorney do a review of that paperwork because they're going to understand all the nuances of that state, if there are any little things to look for in the paperwork. And then obviously the big thing I use them for are foreclosures or forfeitures and other legal actions when I need to take the property back. It's obviously a crucial thing to do. So before you buy a note in a state, you want to have an attorney relationship set up. And the other thing you can use them for too, if let's say you're going to do a joint venture with someone else, or someone's doing a joint venture with you, or let's say you're creating a partial, which I'll talk about in another video, or you're hypothecating loans or doing those things, like where you have relationships where someone's providing outside money to an operator to go do the deal, they can help you with those documents as well. Number four is insurance companies. So a lot of times if you're dealing with a non-performing loan, not only is the borrower not paying the loan, they're often not paying insurance as well. In that case, you want to have what's called a forced place insurance policy to protect yourself. And so you're going to need insurance companies to do that for you. Making sure insurance is active is of the utmost importance. Just recently, I had one of the properties burned down that I held the loan on. And in this case, I didn't have to have forced place insurance because the borrower had their own policy. But then when that property burnt down, the insurance company paid off the loan in full. So I was not only made whole, but I actually had a profit in that case because I had bought the loan at a discount. But if there was no insurance policy in place, if the borrower didn't have it and I didn't have forced place insurance, that property burnt down, we'd be looking at a 100% loss in that case. So making sure you have the right insurance companies is crucial. And last, but certainly not least, maybe the most important on a day-to-day basis is your loan servicer. So having a loan servicer is crucial. Now, it is possible to self-service loans. Sometimes people do that to try to save some money. I highly suggest, however, that you use a loan servicer to service your loans. The money spent on those is usually going to be well spent. Loan servicer is going to do a lot of work for you. They're going to send statements out to the borrower. They're going to collect the payments from the borrower, and then after they collect the payments from the borrower, they'll pass those on to you, hopefully. They're going to manage the borrower's escrow account. So if the borrower's escrowing taxes and insurance, the loan servicer is also going to collect that money. They're going to track the balance. They're going to pay the insurance bill and the tax bill when it's needed. And then they're also going to track the loan as it gets paid off over time. They're going to track the unpaid balance. If the borrower's behind or missed payments, they'll keep track of late fees, accrued interest. If, as the borrower, you had to buy forced place insurance or you had to pay taxes because the borrower didn't, you can have those added as a charge to the loan so that if you foreclose, you can ultimately get that back. Loan servicer is going to keep track of that for you as well. They can also help with loss mitigation for a non-performing loan and reach out to the borrowers. As a new note investor, I highly recommend that you let someone else reach out to the borrower and that you do not do that yourself. There are all kinds of laws in place. Well, some of them are national and even some state by state things that as a new note investor, you're not going to be able to keep up with, and you will make a mistake if you're not careful. So, but your loan servicer will be licensed in the state where the where your note is. They'll know and understand the laws and be able to comply with them and not only help you out, but make sure they keep you out of trouble. Number 6 is property managers. Property managers actually don't use as much. This is really only for my properties that become REOs, either through foreclosure or cash for keys. Unfortunately, I don't have too many of them have them, but they certainly do. But when I do get REOs, a lot of times I want them to do an inspection of the property because generally, remember, we're not seeing the inside of the property before we buy it. So once I do get an REO, the first thing I want to do is get a lot of photos, get an assessment of what condition it's in. If you're buying notes in cold weather states like I certainly am, and you get, later in the year, you want to make sure things are properly winterized so you don't have frozen pipes. And then once you take a property back, one of the first things you're going to want to do is change the locks to get the property secured. And then if you do take on rehab work, which I try to avoid as best I can, but sometimes it makes sense to do it, property manager can also help with finding vendors to do that, coordinating the work, and then they just do a lot of other miscellaneous things for you that are very, very helpful. So hopefully that helps you with the vendors that you're going to need for note investing, or at least the main vendors. If you want to learn more, recommend subscribing to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/FusionNotes, or you can click the thing in the lower right, and then also check out our website at FusionNotes.com, where you can sign up for our newsletter list and find a lot of other free resources. Thanks.